Okay.
All right, welcome everyone to City Council Budget Workshop, Monday, October 28th. Michael, you want to come up and lead us through this?
Right. So everybody should have their packet that we gave out at the last council meeting. So we're going to start on that and go through it. So on page 1, we have our sales tax comparison. And so as you can see, this is the money we received in August, which would have been for the June sales. We got $336,067.30. That was $15,000 over what we had received in 2023, which brings us, for that month, was a 4.67% net change, and we're 4.57% over where we were same time 2023. We have got our numbers for September. September dipped just a little bit, about $7,000, but then we recovered in our October numbers by about $17,000. So currently, we're about $101,000 over where we were in 2023. So our sales tax is still holding in there. The next page, on page 2, this is our sales and use tax comparison, just to kind of show you the trend over the last 3 years of 22, 23, and then where we're at in 24. Okay. This next page, on page 3, is our sales and use tax distribution. And so this one I do want to spend a little bit of time on, just kind of an information thing for some of the newer council members, because I didn't know some of this information. And so I kind of did a deep dive in this in the last couple weeks and looked some stuff up. And so I kind of wanted to share that with you. So this is our sales and use tax distribution. This is collected by the merchants, 624, and remitted to the state, 724, and then we received an 824. This very first tax, the exchange sales and use tax, is a tax that was implemented in 1981 by original ordinance number 1120. At the time, they had put out that 50% of the tax was to go to water sewer, 10% was to go to the general fund, and 40% of the tax was to go to the street fund. Over the next few years, in 88, 89, 90, and 2 of them in 90 actually, they passed different ordinances that redistributed that tax. Ordinance 1319 took it 100% to the general fund, which was in 1988. 1337 took it 8% to water sewer, 40 to streets, 15 to emergency services equipment, and 37% to emergency services to fund for the city. That was in 1989. 1382, 45% went to the general fund, 40% went to streets, and 15% went to emergency services equipment. That was signed in 1990. 1426, reestablished or redistributed again. 60% went to the general fund, 40% to the street fund. That was in 1990. Then they passed ordinance number 2082 that repealed 1937, 82, and 26 and took all of them away. And they did ordinance number 2083, which is the one we operate under today, which sends 65% of the funds to the general fund and 35% to the street fund. So that's kind of the history of that sales and use tax, of how it came about, what it was intended for, and how it's got to where we're at. The next one is the 1% sales and tax. This one was established by ordinance number 1386 and 3 of 1990. The information on the ordinance said that there was a need for immediate improvement of municipal services and needed a new source of revenue to finance such services. So they passed 1386, which was a 1% sales tax. Over the years, that's been used for different things, but ordinance number 2295 pledged that ordinance, that 1% sales tax from 1386, to the payment of principal and interest of the revenue bond that was issued. That was done in 5/11 of 2020. The payments for the principal and interest are removed And then it kind of has a little breakout in that ordinance of where the money has to go for the principal and the interest. And then number 5 is the balance is then transferred back to the city for us to use. So when you look at this breakout, you will see that sales and use tax, the 1%, we received $168,000. 35% of that goes into the street fund, and 65% of it goes into our general fund for operations. On the second 1% sales tax, you'll see $168,000 again, and you'll see the bond payment, which that's according to the ordinance, they take out that amount, and then the rest of it comes to the general fund. Then the other 2 taxes are for the parks, and so you'll see down at the bottom that $252,131 goes into our general fund, $58,000 went to streets, and $63,000 went to parks, and $25,000 went to our bond payment. So that's just kind of a little, does anybody have any questions on any of that? Just kind of a little history. I kind of wanted to know kind of how the progression of it, what it was, and so we kind of did a...
But there seemed to be some misconception on what that was used for. There was some... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we've had a lot of talk about what these sales tax are for, what they can be used for, what they're supposed to be used for, what they were designated for, and that's kind of why I wanted to give this history to show that over the course of time, some of them have changed, and that the purposes that we have them for now, that we have them listed for, are what they were intended to and what they were designed by ordinance to do. So. On the next page, on page 4, this is our just kind of the breakdown of the sales tax for August. 72,000 of it came from food and beverage, 100,000 of it came from lodging, and 237,000 of it came from the other miscellaneous tax collectors in town. So that gives us an overall for the year where about 64% is other, 16% is food and lodging, and 20%, food and beverage, and 20% is lodging. The next few pages that you're going to see is the details for that chart. So if you'll go on to page 14, that's our revenue and expenditure report for month ending 8/31/2024. Percentage of our fiscal year completed is 66.67%. Our total revenue budgeted for that point is $12,960,000, of which we have $7.5 million, which is 58% of our budgeted amount, and our expenses are $12.5 million budgeted, 8.4 spent, so 68% of our expenses. It shows a loss of $953,104, with the largest portion of that being what we've spent in the water and sewer funds. If you go down to the bottom, you'll see our capital infusions that we've put in capital. With general fund, we have put in $154,000 for capital purchases, and we've also used general fund capital for $197,000, I&I reserves of $532,000, and street fund $36,000 for the capital purchase of a truck there. Our total infusion of capital for that is $959,000, and then we have loaned the water department $461,000, so total capital and loan of $1.4 million. Another thing that we had kind of talked about the other night that I just wanted to be aware of, the loans to the water department that we have gone back and been able to research. In 21, the general fund loaned about $20,000 to the water department. In 22, it was $355,000. In 23, it was $150,000, and so far in 24, it's $581,000. So a total of $1.1 million has been loaned out of the general fund or the franchisee fund since 2021 to the water department. Next several pages are the details behind the revenue and expenditures. That's detail. The next page, page 37, that we'll go over is our capital expenditures. We are getting close to the end of our capital expenditures. We've spent some of this money. So Gary has spent $32,000 more on his turnout gear in September. So he spent about $35,000 on his turnout gear. He did replace the gas-powered vent. That was about $11,000. Then on the streets, we purchased a new truck actually today. We purchased a 2023 Ford Maverick for them to use. We had budgeted 35, we spent 27. And then the backhoe, we received the backhoe. They had budgeted 185, we spent 141, and that was in September. So those will show up on future reports, but just kind of updating some of that for you. Our competitive bank balances, year and month end, we finished the month of August with $5.3 million in our liquid cash and $770,000 again in our CDs, for a total of $6.1 million in cash. 39 is just the chart showing you the balances, bank balance comparisons, the year over year, the trends. 40 is our long-term liabilities, not any changes here. Our next principal payment on the loan was October 1st, so that'll be updated on our October report. Everything else is pretty much the same on this report. And the last page is our Carroll Boone water purchase. Our purchase that we made for the month of August that we paid for in September was $59,963.63, which was $3,000 less than 2023. And in September, our number is also less. It was about $52,000, so it's about $3,000 less than we were in 2023. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
Any comments, questions?
No, that's great.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Thank y'all.
If there's nothing else on the budget, we will adjourn and reconvene as our city council meeting at 6 o'clock.